Three, two, one. Education is the single most powerful tool for social mobility. In a country like Indonesia, where millions of talented young people are held back not by ability, but by financial circumstance, access to higher education matters enormously. So, when someone proposes a student loan mechanic as the solution, it sounds reasonable. It sounds like a solution. It sounds progressive. It feels like an opportunity. But we need to ask, an opportunity for whom and at what cost? Today, as the opposition, we argue that adopting the student loan mechanism in Indonesia will not open doors for many. It would rather burden the most vulnerable with debt they earned that they cannot repay, while better alternatives exist already in our country. Now, let me be clear here. About what a student loan debt mechanism is basically how we borrow money from a financial institution or as from the state for the purpose of education that we need to repay after we graduate and get a job. Now, we're not opposed to expanding access for higher education. We're opposed to doing so through a debt-based model when the conditions for that model to work fairly simply do not exist. Our burden today is to show you why Indonesia is not ready for this and why there are better ways forward and already an alternative. Indonesia's higher education system is supposed to be a ladder out of poverty. A student loan mechanism makes turning that ladder basically into a trap. Why, you may ask? Consider this. Consider who takes out student loans. It's not the wealthy. They can already afford tuition. It is students from lower to middle class families who have no other means. These are the students who will carry the heaviest debt loans. According to the World Bank, approximately 25% of Indonesian population still lives on less than $3.20 a day. For families that have above income level, well, any debt, however small it begins, can cascade into a financial conundrum, a financial crisis that affects not just the graduate, but their entire family network. Student loans do not demonstrate for education without careful design. They can financialize it, turning access to knowledge into decades-long financial obligation that follows you into adulthood. Well, for a student loan system to work, graduates need to earn enough money to repay their loans. That requires a job market. Now, as we know, a job market that rewards degrees with decent, stable salaries, Indonesia's job market does not consistently deliver this. Indonesia's graduate unemployment rate has been a persistent challenge in the entire country. The International Labor Organization notes that a significant portion of Indonesian graduates end up at informal work with low to minimum wages, no contracts, no financial safety net. If graduate cannot find formal employment that pays a living wage at least, how are they expected to service a loan? The debt does not disappear. It accumulates, it accrues interest, and it follows them. A student loan mechanism is built on the assumption of stable graduate employment, is a mechanism built on a foundation that does not yet exist in Indonesia at the scale required. The proposition would have you believe the choice is between student loans and nothing. That is false dichotomy. Indonesia already has the KIP, or the college program, or the Smart Indonesian College Program. For higher education, this is a granted scholarship that covers tuition and provides a living allowance for students from low income backgrounds, no data, no repayment, no interest. In 2023 academic years alone, the KIP or the Indonesian Smart Program or the Indonesian Education Program supported over 900,000 students across the entire nation. This is nearly a million young people accessing a higher education without taking on a single rupiah of debt. That is amazing. Rather than introducing a loan mechanism that burdens students, the state should be expanding and strengthening grant-based programs like KIP or the Indonesian Educational Program. The infrastructure exists. The political will just need to follow. And we do not need to guess the consequences of a student loan system. The world has already run this experiment. In the United States, student loans alone, their debt has surpassed 1.7 trillion US dollars, a crisis that has delayed home ownership, suppressed consumer spending, and created a generation of graduates who feel financially paralyzed. In the United Kingdom, graduates face average debts of over 40,000 euros, with the government's own figures showing that the majority of borrowers will never fully repay their loans before the debt is written off. Meaning that the system is neither financially stable or for the state nor fair for the student. Indonesia has the advantage of learning from these mistakes before making them. The opposition urges this House to take that advantage seriously. The proposition will likely argue that student loans increase access to higher education by letting students pay later rather than upfront. On the surface, this sounds logical, but access without affordability of repayment is not access. It is a deferred exclusion. You are not opening the door to education, you are opening the door to debt. They also all argue that income contingent repayment models, where graduates only repay when they earn above a certain threshold, can protect low-income borrowers. This is true in theory, but implemented a fair, well-regulated income contingent system requires an institutional capacity, reliable income data, and strong enhancement mechanism that Indonesia is still developing. Good idea, poorly implemented. The opposition is not against the goal, we are against the mechanism at this stage in this context. Education should be a right, not a death sentence. We need a better way not to dig ourselves into a deeper hole. Thank you.